I'm actually caught in the decision of whether to start explaining them one by one, because it's one thing to actually say, okay, fine, I'm clicking here, I'm clicking here, I'm clicking here, but there are actually reasons why you are clicking these things. There are actually reasons why you are passing through this route. So for the sake of those that for the sake of those, I can't finish this. It's very much, I can't finish this. So for the sake of those that are new to this, I will not be rushing it and saying, okay, click on this, click on this. I will be explaining what exactly I'm doing. So, but the result is that I won't finish it. So over here, why did I go to SSH client? I want to connect to that test server I created, that computer in the cloud that I just created, that server in the cloud. I want to actually connect to it from my computer. So right now, I don't have any connections to it. And that is why, remember, there was something we called a key pair that I created. Though I didn't create it, I already had it installed. And it was called test key pair, if you can remember. And I said it's more like a key. So you can see it here coming up. So there is a formula for it. Let me use a formula. So there's a formula for it. Whenever you want to have remote access using SSH, SSH is a secure access where that is used for Linux. So for me to have access, there's this formula that says SSH space user at then IP address. Oh, I have a keyboard here. Address. This is a formula for it. Whenever you want to gain remote access. So I have to know the user of that server I created. I have to know the username. Then I have to also know the IP address. And this I can easily get. AWS has given us that room to always now see the IP address that is dedicated to each server that we create. And it has also done that for the username. And then when we have a key pair, then when we have a key pair, let me clear this. Or should I? Okay. I've been corrected about clearing some time ago. That whenever I clear, people do not get to see the thing I've done last. So that was a very constructive criticism. So I'll still stay on this page. Then there's another formula. Whenever you have a key pair, for this first one, we don't have a key pair. We don't have that. We don't need a lock. We just enter inside. And most of the time when we use this, most of the time is when you have maybe a root user, or maybe you are using a cloud provider that does not need a key pair. That is when some of these cloud providers are maybe Linode, which other one again? DigitalOcean too. You don't need a key pair. But AWS being it's for big enterprises, it is robust and they are security conscious and all that. It is safe. So that is why they said, okay, fine, you must have a key pair. Without this key pair, you cannot have access to this server. And then the formula for it, I'll be using formula because that is what we all can at least get inclined with. So the formula for it is SSH hyphen I, then your key pair, then key pair space, then the same thing as the top, user at IP address. So today, for those that are not technical, you've started looking at networking. This is actually a side of networking where you have to communicate with your computers, you have to communicate with servers. And trust me, not everybody can communicate with servers because they are dedicated people that are um that are trained for this. They are dedicated people who actually learn to do this. So for me, it's a privilege that you get to know this. So this is actually the formula. You want to talk to a server, you do this. So we will be following that same step. If you look at it, AWS has already given it to us over here. that, okay, fine. Instead of you to be racking your brain and saying, okay, what is the user? What is this? What is it that? They've already given it to us over here. So you can, as you can see, SSH-I, then the key pair space user, which is Ubuntu. You can ask, how do you know that it's Ubuntu? If you check this place, EC2 Instance Connect, username, we have the Ubuntu over here. It is the default. So yes, the user is Ubuntu at EC234. Yes, you might say this is not an IP address. You can actually change it with an IP address. Now, there are two IP addresses. We have the public IP address, we have the private IP address. And AWS actually gives us the room to see that. Let me see if I can switch back to the instances so that you can have a look at it. This is test server. You can see public IP address. So now this public IP address is what you show when you are running this particular command here, this IP address. You have to put in the public IP address. So now the public IP address also can also, or rather the public IPv4 DNS. As you can see, this IPv4 is the same IPv4 that is here too. It's also an IP address, but this time it's in form of a DNS. So if you don't want it, a DNS is a domain name system, and it's just like your www.karashika.com and all that. So if you can just have something like that. So if you don't want to be exposing this your IP address, fine, no problem. You can use this one. So that was what AWS used in their default. Let me go to connect. That's what they use over here. So that is SSH-I key pair username, then they now use the public DNS. So all what I just need to do is just to copy. Actually, after now, you understand it in less than 2 seconds is too much. You'll be already in your terminal. So let me do this. Let me open this here. So I have to navigate to where I kept my key pair. So that will be ls. So that will be, I have to go to my OneDrive. See the OneDrive. Then ls. Let me see what is there. Then I have my desktop. What I'm just trying to do is that I want to navigate, or I want to go to the folder where I kept my key pair. So as you can see, this is testkeypair.pem. So with this, I'm in the place where I kept my key pair. Then I can now paste. I can paste what I got from my AWS. Then I'll say yes. This is more like a verification. So we are in our server. So whenever you see, as you can see, Ubuntu at IP 172.31.95. So this is what we are talking about. We are currently in our server. And as you can see over here, it gives us details about the server, gives us details about the machine. For instance, as you can see, IPv4, okay, that is tongue twister. IPv4 address for, as you can see this. So it gives us what we need to know about, like primarily what we need to know. So I think at this point I can clear this. So if there's anything we have achieved today, let's take it for example. I'm working on, rather, I'm wanting to film maybe as a beginner, I'm wanting to film my, what we call this thing now, daily reports. I can say, okay, fine. I learned how to create, rather, I learned how to open up, or should I say to spin up, or to create, or to provision an EC2 instance. That is what we have achieved first. The second thing we've achieved now is that I also learned how to SSH into an EC2 instance. So I learned how to SSH or to gain remote access to a remote server. That is the second thing we have achieved. So because of time, I'll be doing this in 5 minutes. Going back to AWS. Actually, I did this last week also. So let me go to the second service that we need, which is S3. This one will be a sharp thing, because all what the S3 does, for those that were not around, is that it helps us to hold contents in terms of files. It helps us to hold files of different types, maybe PNG, JPEG, and all that, zip file, tar file, jar file. For those that use artifacts, at least I know the developers know what artifact is. It's when you have actually created that your application, right? Then you've compressed it. So that is what we call an artifact. So we are going to create a bucket. Maybe we can call it test bucket. Test bucket. Then we have a region. There's something we call region in AWS. It's more like the place where they have their data center. So you can choose the data center closest to you. As you can see, there are different data centers around the world. We have in America, Asia, Canada, and all that. Then I'll be leaving it as recommended. ACL disable recommended. They said block all public access. I'll be moving this because I want it public. I want to also acknowledge that yes, I've given the rights for my S3 to go public, or my bucket rather to go public. And then all this can stay as default. Then create a bucket. Okay, there's something left out. Somebody has picked this name. So let me put a number 0009.
Yeah. Mr. Alex. Okay, I think I'm not the only one. I think we lost him. Oh, Mr. Alex, we can't hear you, sir.
Oh, sorry. I was lost for a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is good.
All right. So can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you on the AWS page? Like, can you see the AWS page?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. So what I did was that I left all this as recommended. I removed block all public assets. I removed that permission. I wanted everybody to have access to it. Then I acknowledged it, left every other thing to default, made sure that my bucket name is unique. And then I'm going to be creating a bucket. So I have my bucket here. And then when I click on it, I have to upload whatever I need to be inside. So I'll go to upload. This is a GUI. For those that don't know GUI is graphical user interface. So I will not have a problem actually navigating through. That's one of the good things about AWS. It is GUI friendly. So I'm going to be copying the file I want. That's, let me just say, the file that has been compressed. Like my website has been compressed. Remember, I talked about something called artifacts that developers use. They all these applications, the truth is that they are files. It is whenever we put them on we have already done some necessary configurations. That's when you see that they are coming up as a build. They are coming out as something that yes, we can see, we can interact with, and all that, because there are some technologies that have been put in place to make, or should I say, to activate or to transform that file to be something that others can relate with, to that GUI or to that interface that's fine, it's friendly. So, but they are files. Like that's their raw form. So this is a file over here, template 146 and whatever is the file for this particular website. So I will click on upload. And this way I have created a new I've created a new object. So we have the bucket, which is the container. We have the object, which is the content that you are going to be putting into. So from the word object, of course, it's a matter. So we are putting into that bucket. So what have we been able to achieve today? So someone from marketing, someone from let's say project management, person can say, okay, fine. I know how to create an S3 bucket. I know how to put or to insert an object in an S3 bucket. Yes. So those are the things. And I also know how to configure an S3 bucket, because if you don't configure it very well, the truth is that it won't, it looks so easy. Yes, it is easy. But the truth is that if you don't do things right, computers, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't give it exactly what it wants or the exact commands it needs to run, it will like to give you either another result or it will not even run at all. So that's where the headaches of troubleshooting then comes in. So this is where I'll be stopping. So next time, maybe if I know ahead that there won't be a speaker and all that, then I can just do what I've just done. I can just do it before the meeting so that I'll just continue from where I stopped. So thank you very much for giving me this platform.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michael Alex.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I believe at this point, I don't know if we have questions relating to SSH or
I have a question.
server or AWS.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm with you, son.
All right. Yeah. Well, wonderful presentation.
Thank
So I
you
think
very
I've
much.
been following closely as to the previous presentation you have in regarding AWS. So my question basically is that usually when the intuition is that usually when people tend to deploy solutions on the cloud, it could be any kind of solution, right? It could be web apps, it could be just a simple script that does just one thing. So in a situation where you are not deploying a web app, which has some sort of procedures that you need to follow to deploy, what if it's a script? Yeah, it could be a script, it could be a bot, or something else. Anyways, that has to run like on a 24/7 base, like it has to keep running all of this. So when you deploy such script on AWS, for example, how do we make sure that we don't have a downtime, in the sense that, okay, for example, when you're running the same solution on your local machine, it runs, right? But the moment you close out your terminal, it stops. Or the moment your laptop goes off or something, it stops, right? And I believe and I believe when you're on the cloud as well, you're actually mirroring that same scenario that happens on your local machine. You're running a solution just like you're running it on the local machine. All what you're doing at that moment in time is that you're running it on the cloud on your virtual instance. So how do we make sure that we don't, if we close out the cloud instance, does it stop our program? How do we make sure our program doesn't stop? Are there ways to allow our solution to run on a detached mode or on a no hang up mode, something like that?
Okay. That's a very, very good question. It's a good question, because what you've just mentioned now is should I say, it's the principal reason why we have the cloud. The cloud actually solved a problem. And what's that problem? Is having your operations running without downtime. That is the main reason for the cloud. accessibility and all that. And that is what you are trying to point out, that how can I, maybe I'm trying to rephrase your question now for as many people that might not understand. Okay, fine. I'm running an application. This application is not the type that I want to deploy a website. I don't want to deploy a web, let me just say, a web application or whatever. I don't want to do any deployment. What I just want to do is to make sure that I want to have a replica of my computer on the cloud. Let's just say in my computer, my local computer, I have, let me just say, I have some documents. I have some documents. I have some applications running, maybe just say Photoshop, CorelDRAW, some maybe Visual Studio. I'm just taking for example. Now I want to have a replica of those things on the cloud so that, let me just say, for those that do Forex, you do bots. There was a particular time that for those that do Forex, there was a particular time this VPC came on. You can buy VPC, host VPC, and all that. Now, that's technology of a VPC. Do you know what they were just trying to do? They're actually solving the problem you are talking about right now. Your robot needs to work 24/7. If your robot doesn't work 24/7, if your AI does not work 24/7, you lose money, you lose chances. The time when you are supposed to be in a trade, you are not in that trade. Or let's just say you create a particular, maybe you have a particular application you are running, and then that application, maybe if there's a downtime, of course, you are cut out of everything. Like it just destroys all what you have been doing since, just destroy. What should you do? Now, this is the solution to it. Deployment is different from this particular one you are talking about now. What you have to do in this instance is that you have to create a GUI. Now, GUI in the sense that you have to create either, let me just say, a Linux, but for me, the one I've used is using a Windows OS. I used the VPC of AWS. I used the VPC. For those that don't know, VPC is the virtual private network. It has to do with the network side of the PC, like activating it, making sure that it is able to communicate with different IP addresses or devices and all that. That is purely networking. Then I need to get an OS, right? Now, after I get the OS, what I did was that I chose a Windows because a Windows is what I use on my local machine. I got a Windows. Then after doing all this, it was more like I have a PC running. Then what I now did was that I then used RDP. You know, for Linux, what I did here was SSH. And when you do your SSH, the truth is that you are only having access to the command line. You are only having access to that dark, that dark stuff where I had to start communicating with the server. But for Windows, you can use your RDP.
Alex, please try around the course of our time.
Okay.
Again.
Yeah. We have 2 minutes, what I can see here. So we can use RDP. So from your RDP, you are able to get, can I even remember? There's this line of codes. It's more like a unique code that is specific, just like we have IP addresses for Linux servers. We have a particular one for there's particular code. I think it's also a DNS too. Then you get it out. You already have a password. You use the RDP, which is a remote desktop. Remote desktop. I've forgotten the P out of it now. You use it to connect to it. Immediately, you find out that on your PC, you'll be able to have access to the GUI, to the interface of that server. What I did in my example, there's no interface. But for this one, because you're using Windows, you're using the RDP, you are connecting with it with your local machine, you will see it. So in that place, of course, there's an Internet Explorer there. There is everything you need for you to actually put your applications into it or to maybe transfer. But the thing is that it's a cloud thing. Just like you do for GitHub, you have to push to GitHub for you to do some other things. You have to put that particular application or put it in a cloud server so that from your virtual machine, that is in this time Windows, that which you have as your GUI. You can now import it, or you can now drag it, or whatever way you want to do it. You can now take it into it, and it will work perfectly. But don't destroy your instance. Don't destroy your instance. If you destroy your instance, then it's going to be gone, because it will now take a new, like when you create another one, to take new properties. So that is gone. That is gone. Don't have any. There's no backup for that.
All right. Yeah, interesting. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I think moving
You're
forward,
welcome.
we'd like to have presentations on cloud functions, AWS, Lambda, and the likes.
All right. I'm just trying to make this as friendly as possible. That is why. So I'm done. I'm done with
Yeah, okay.
answering the question.
Yeah. Mohammed, thank you very much for asking the question. Alex, thank you for presenting to us about AWS and servers today. Because of our time, we can't proceed further. Probably next time you can continue from where you stop. So we'll be ending the KD now, and see you tomorrow. Hopefully our presenters will be around for tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining today's KD. Wishing everybody a lovely working day.
All right,
Thank you
thank
so
you very
much.
much.
Yeah. Alex, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you.